Welcome to Corrective Consciousness, episode 184, the podcast where we explore the inanity of pop culture. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we actually have a new topic based off of the PS5 rumors that have been swirling about hither and thither. Maybe. Would you say hither or thither?
I would say hither and yon.
Okay, and yon. Okay.
Well, let's be more formal. Hither and yonder.
Yonder and blonder. But anyway, the main rumor that's going around that concerns us, or we're concerned about, is the backwards compatibility rumor. Now, they are saying that there is a possibility that the PS5 could have PS1, PS2, PSP, PS3, and PS4 backward compatibility. So I kind of wanted to take this opportunity to go over, if indeed we could use our old discs, except for PSP, of course, which I would never expect that otherwise. But if we could use our old discs, what are you looking forward to playing on the PS5? Lotus, do you have a game in mind?
I would say, because I don't know if I'm really in general keen on, now's my chance, I can't wait to go back and play this game I've already beaten.
I mean, we've had access to some to these games for quite a long time, but yeah, the convenience would be really nice.
Yeah,
right?
The thing is, the first two games that come to my head, even though I've finished them, would be Bloodborne and Yakuza 6, because apparently, and I suppose also Judgment, because load times would presumably be drastically cut. With Yakuza 6 and Judgment, there's actually almost never load times, but when you turn on the game, you get hit with a minute. Mm-hmm. And with Bloodborne, every time you load an area, Hunter's Dream isn't a big deal, it's 6 seconds, but if you're loading any other area in the game, it can range from 12 to 24 seconds. Honestly, even Demons and Dark Souls, they're not Bloodborne bad with loading times, but the loading times are quite noticeable. So just being able to efficiently just go to an area, boom, it loads, that would be so great.
Yeah, my main concern actually right now is I'm mostly thinking about either games we missed or games that I think are still relevant today, are definitely viable plays that simply just haven't had an update or anything like that. So my pick is actually the original Valkyrie profile.
Okay.
So you knew that I picked this up recently at MagFest.
Yes.
This is one of the great games for PS1 that really doesn't have its due right now. They did a remake of it for PSP
and there was a sequel for PS2 that no one played.
Yeah, and a sequel to that on the DS that nobody played. But the original game is the favorite of a lot of people. It's a game that people still think about, and I've actually never really played it very much. I have the PSP one, but a lot of fans of the original game actually like the original better because of load times, I think.
By the way, regarding the PSP version, the PSP one is called Valkyrie Profile Lenneth. Right? Mm-hmm. This is tangential, but fun fact. If memory serves, I believe Lenneth was a secret boss in Star Ocean 3.
Oh, wow.
And she could hit you with a Nibelung Valesti, which you do not want to be hit with.
Well, in the case of this one, also Valkyrie Profile Lenneth, the PSP game, actually isn't available digitally for the PSP.
Yeah, that's one of those really frustrating things where it's finally I could play it, on another system or whatever, but bafflingly it just didn't happen.
Yeah, it's really annoying, and but it is available for mobile, which is kind of really goofy.
Yeah, all right.
Why did they do that? I don't know.
Phones are the ways of the future, even though they're the most temporary like playing system there is.
Yeah. It's really annoying. So yeah, the second one is Silmeria. So I would get a chance to play that
Yeah, that's the
presumably.
PS2 game. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the one. That would be interesting because that game had up to, I think it was 1080i potential, but nobody ever did that because they didn't have a TV that could display that way and or the component cables for the PS2. But now
Yeah.
that everyone's got HD TVs, you could actually make that happen pretty easily. It's just like Final Fantasy 12. I remember seeing on YouTube 1080 footage of Final Fantasy 12, and this was like from like like the mid 2000s. I was like, how the fuck? Like, and but like, well, that was how. It's just not everyone could do that.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this whole series. Like I picked up the PS1 version because I heard like a lot of fans like the PS1 version better.
Yeah.
So I'll finally get a chance to play that. I'm also looking forward to playing. Well, first of all, not having to keep my PS3 around because it's a ticking time bomb.
And speaking of well, go ahead.
Well, my big concern is I'm very worried about my PS3 because I have a backwards compatible PS3. From the launch
Yeah,
of the
they weren't
PS3.
as bad as launch 360s, but they were pretty famous for not the red ring of death, but the yellow light of death.
Yeah, and a lot of people say eventually it will just go. Like there's really no stopping it. It will happen. And they're not entirely sure what causes the problem quite yet, so that's also a major concern. So I don't even want to play like PS1 or PS2 games on my PS3, or even play PS3 games on it because I don't know if I'm gonna kill it or not. So,
But just mentioning PS3, by the way, I forgot to mention. Again, this is pretty esoteric, but Drakengard 3, because
yeah, I was
forget load
actually gonna
times,
mention
but
that
that
too.
game has some very obvious slowdown problems.
Yeah, in fact, the other major game that I picked up at Magfest was Drakengard 3, and I would like to play that one.
Oh
So
yeah, I forgot you had picked up both of those, but
yeah,
like for real though, if I could single out a PS3 game for its brutal slowdown, like Drakengard 3, absolutely. Like you might lose an input to some of the slowdown.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to going back to those. I still haven't played all the way through God Hand, so looking forward to maybe having the
To be
possibility to
fair
get
to
a
you,
chance to
that
do
game
that.
is prohibitively hard to the point where it's like the main advertisement point in the trailer. This game is ball bustingly hard, it says.
Yeah, it's true, but I really want to get a chance to play it because I know how good it is. Like it's so
It's
highly
very good. It's one
regarded.
of those games that was kind of panned when it came out because it's like, how do you even play this? But then people who got used to it was like, literally however you want. Like
Hmm.
it's so customizable. Do whatever makes you most comfortable and go out there and kick ass.
Yeah, and I'm just also thinking about back to quite a few other like PlayStation 1 games that I never got a chance to play that are still classics. Like the Suikoden series. I own them all and I haven't played any of them.
Same. I have been itching to play those,
Yeah.
especially two. I would play them in order, but like I hear two is the one to play, and five is also apparently quite good. I think the weakest one people have said was four,
4. Yeah.
but like
It's
it's not bad. But apparently two is just killer. And the DS one I heard was like apparently fucked up, which intrigues me.
it's a good game but unrelated like apparently to the other
Yeah,
ones.
apparently it's like
Yeah.
alternate dimensions or universes, and things just get fucked, and like that intrigues me.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to going back to that series. Let me see what else. Oh,
This is something I honestly I don't think it's gonna happen. I really don't. I mean, PS3 and PS4 have just been region free. I doubt they would take foreign PS1 and 2 games though. But like,
yeah.
if they magically did, I said this in Corrective Consciousness, but Forbidden Siren 2 maybe.
Well, here's the thing. We don't, as I mentioned before in Recon, we don't know to the extent that this theoretical backwards compatibility may be. It may just be for a few digital titles
I
that you
know,
need to
but
rebuy or
if
whatever.
sky's the limit, Forbidden Siren 2, let me just put the game in a console and play it for the first time, please?
Well, here's the thing. I own Japanese titles, Japanese only digital titles that were only released on like the Japanese PSN for PlayStation 3. So what I ended up doing is they have an extensive like archives catalog.
Uh-huh.
So I was able to buy like digital copies of like LSD, for instance,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the Dream Simulator.
Dream
It
Emulator, which
Dream
throws
Emulator.
me off.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to say simulator because it is, but no, it's emulator.
But yeah, I have that. I have
Oh, by the way, just real quick, shout out to the listeners. If you're interested in that game, that's the way to buy it because the real thing is like
yeah,
$300 to $400.
it's like $5. Yeah, it's very cheap this way.
And
Um,
doesn't Japanese PSN? I don't know if it still does, but didn't it have Einhander?
it probably does. I'm
That
pretty sure it
game's nowhere
does.
nearly as expensive as all that, but it is pretty expensive. So just get that.
Yeah, I have quite a few games that
Choaniki, the greatest game ever made, which you could actually get on US
yeah, I was
PSN
actually
under
gonna
the
say you
weird
don't need
foreign
to
category.
go jump through hoops like I did for
Yeah,
that
you,
one.
you could just go on the American PSN, go into like I forgot what it's called, like the other category or something, and there's only like 5 games there, and Choaniki is one of them.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's how Perry played it. He introduced it to me on I want to say his PS3, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, yeah. I do want to. I have like a whole bunch of PS1 games that I bought for my PS3
Yeah.
that I thought was pretty great. Let me see here. I have a whole bunch of them.
Oh, you know
Um,
what? This is a really weird one to bring up, but if we're going back to loading times, like no one's gonna play this but Sentient because
Sentient.
yeah, Sentient. But that game keeps track of everyone's position at all times in real time. So when you teleport from one floor to another, the loading is pretty rough. And when you load a game, the loading is pretty rough because like that it's really more work than a PS1 game should be doing.
Yeah, let me see here. It's under their game archives. So there are quite a few here that they like PS1 games that they were like, okay, like all those games that like are really rare for PS1. Well, you could buy them if you're Japanese, but you can't have them if you're not.
Yeah, it's so weird.
So Game Paradise 2, because Game Paradise 1 actually has been getting a really great HD remake recently. I talked about that, the game with all the Jalico references in it.
Oh,
Uh,
Juggernaut, of course.
you keep
That's a
saying
game that
that.
no one's ever gonna play.
Um, but there are all kinds of like really good games that like um never got like a release past their PS1 days.
Yeah,
So like Thunder Force 5 is another one.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, there's a Thunder Force 6.
Holy
Uh,
sh! I heard of. I knew about 4. I did not know about 5 or 6.
yeah, 5 is on PS1, and that actually got a US release, but it's never been re-released in the US.
Oh.
So it got re-released on the PSN.
But by the way, oddly specific shout out here. But everybody go to YouTube, type in Thunder Force 4. I don't know if it really matters, but for
Oh, the
safety, Roman
music.
numeral 4 like IV, and then type in Metal Squad. That is the single greatest Genesis track, and that includes Streets of Rage 2. I'm sorry to say this, but even including Streets of Rage 2, this is the greatest, not necessarily soundtrack, but individual track you have ever heard on a Genesis.
So there's Project Justice 2, aka Rival Schools 2, that never got a US release. That's
I
on
was going to
there.
say I never heard of that. I've heard of Project Justice 1.
And then there's a sequel to that on
Wait, what was
the
Project Justice 2? Because Project Justice 1 was a Dreamcast release.
no. So Rival Schools is just called Project Justice in Japan. I don't think it gets called
Okay,
Rival
because in
Schools.
America, the PS1 fighter is called Rival Schools, and then the Dreamcast one is called Project Justice.
Yeah, so Project Justice is the American name of the third game.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
How
yeah.
weird.
Yeah. That's a Dreamcast release.
There's a Dead series, by the way. Bring that back.
Jesus, yeah.
Even bring characters back as cameos or something in your Street Fighter games. People would love to see it. Like in Capcom vs. SNK 2, randomly Kyosuke, not the main character, shows up, and it's like, who's this guy? And you look him up.
Let's see. Gradius Gaiden, which is one of the best Gradius games ever, and it only ever got a U.S. release on the PSP.
I played Gladius on GameCube. the gladiatorial fighting game where you fight with the Gladius sword.
That's a smart joke. That's funny. Let me see. Grandia 3, I don't think has gotten a re-release ever. Grandia Extreme, which is a remake of Grandia 1. Here's a good one. King of Fighters 11. That hasn't gotten a re-release in the United States. And that's a good one because that one I don't think that's ever gotten ported other than the PS2 release. Huh. So that's a good one.
And then 12 was on next gen, right? 12 was on PS3. And
yeah,
then 13
12
quickly overrode it.
Yeah, 12 is a game. It's kind of like playing the original Street Fighter Alpha. Like, why are you playing that?
12 was gorgeous, but it was severely lacking in characters, including Mai, who's a staple.
Yeah, it's kind of like playing also the original version of like Street Fighter 3. Like, why are you doing that?
Oh yeah, Street Fighter 3 without the subtitle, as opposed to Second Attack and the one everyone's played, Third Strike.
Yeah, Third Strike's where it's at. With Street Fighter Alpha, there's a bit of a debate. Like, some people like 2 better than 3. But they're still great. But you wouldn't play 1 over either of them. Let's just put it that way. Let's see here. Vib Ribbon. That's actually on the US PSN. Let's see here.
Vib Ribbon is one of those games where there's almost no content, but the point is that you provide your own.
It's fun.
Vib Ribbon is a game that turns a music track into like a rhythm game. Like, can you press X in response to this obstacle, circle in response to this obstacle, so it becomes almost DDR, but there's only like 3 tracks in the game because the game itself is a tutorial. So the idea is that you put in a music CD and some song comes up and it can turn that into its own level, which is like, you can't make your own levels, I don't think, but you can add your own music where it makes the levels from that, and it's pretty cool to do that.
There's also the Sega Ages releases on PS2 that were really fantastic. Like, there's the Fantasy Zone Complete Collection.
There's the worst version of Golden Axe.
Oh, well,
I know it's the exception to the rule.
Yeah, so the first half of the Sega Ages releases are bad, and then the latter half are fantastic.
Yeah,
because they're made by different people.
Are really cool.
They halfway through they were taken over by M2, and they've stayed that way. So the Fantasy Zone Complete Collection actually had a brand new game that they made for it. Huh. Like, Fantasy Zone 2 only had a Master System release. So what they did was they were like, okay, well, what would this have been like if it were an actual arcade game? So what they did was they actually programmed it like to the Fantasy Zone 1 hardware.
That's insane.
And like, you can play it in MAME now, like the game that they made back, in the 2000s.
That's unbelievable.
They made a remake of a game using old technology. It's one of the coolest things that's ever been done.
Yeah, that's wild.
Really, really cool stuff. Galaxian 3. You ever hear about Galaxian 3?
I don't really know Galaxian in general that well.
Okay, so this actually was almost like a theme park attraction, where like Dave & Buster's would have this back in the day.
Okay.
And it was like a big theater, and they would project a laser disc playing in the background, and the game would put sprites over the FMV stuff that was happening in behind it, and
Okay.
like multiple people would sit around and use like cannons to shoot what was on the screen.
So is it almost like a super version of those like light gun FMV games like Mad Dog McCree or something?
Uh, but more gamey. I mean, the sprites weren't. The sprites were actually sprites.
Okay, they weren't like actors.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, all right.
But it had like FMV backgrounds.
Okay.
Let's just put it that way. So that was a PS. They ported that to PS1, and it is available on PSN. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So there's tons of games here that like I can only play on my backwards compatible PS3 with a Japanese account activated.
Yeah, yeah.
So like there's the remake of Dynamite Deca, which is amazing. Which
What's that? Is that like Dynamite Cop?
so they remade the first game. Uh,
Okay.
the first game, Die Hard Arcade,
Yeah, the
um,
Saturn game.
with PS2 quality graphics rather than the Saturn
Oh.
quality
Oh, does it
graphics.
still have like the goofy like original voice acting?
Oh, everything else about it is the same. It's just like
Oh.
they improved the graphics drastically, which was a good thing, and they added some goofy content to it. Like you can, once you beat the game, you can unlock like Golden Axe like costumes, which is pretty
That's
fun.
fantastic.
So you could just dress up as Axe Battler and Tyrus Flare
That's fantastic.
as your characters, which is really neat. There's just like that's like one of the best remakes they made during that era. You could get Virtual on Mars, the Virtual on game that even Virtual on fans don't even really talk about.
Oh, the PS2 game?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's just tons of games on here. So I want to go back and play those. There are plenty of games from this era that have been remade though. Like I don't see the why you would want to go back to like the original version of like Final Fantasy VII. I mean there's like the HDified version of Final Fantasy VII as it is. So you could just play that, which is like a port of the PC version. You could play the remake of like Final Fantasy VIII, which only recently just came out. So
Well, is that also a super version of the PC version? Because I heard the sound was like not as good in that one.
no, actually that one is based off of the PS1 version.
Okay, because yeah, I
Yeah,
heard the PC version's music. There was something up with it. It was like MIDI or well, no, it would have been MIDI, but I heard there was something up with it.
yeah, yeah. The PlayStation version of Final Fantasy VII and VIII had better music on PlayStation.
Okay,
Rather than the PC, but the graphics were better in their respective PC ports, so it was kind of like
gotcha.
a give and take.
Like
Um,
I've always like this is such a specific thing, but I've always wanted to see stuff like that where like in my case I talked about the different ports of Resident Evil. I would love to see Resident Evil 1 with like PC graphics, but like the content of the Saturn, stuff like that. I want to see someone make like a super version of those games at some point,
yeah, yeah.
like
Um,
PC Final Fantasy 7 and 8, but with the PS1 music, and that's all you need to do.
well, actually, if you own the PC versions of those, there is a mod for both of those in
Fair
order to play
enough.
them. So you can make that a reality. Um, yeah, there's a fan mod of Final Fantasy VIII, and Final Fantasy VII actually had that happen officially. I don't know
Okay,
why they didn't do it to eight, but they
all
they
right.
they did it to seven already. So yeah, I mean, like Resident Evil, I mean, you'll be able to play the original versions of those games. Like if you're intrigued because of the recent remakes of those,
Of course.
which is pretty cool. I know you like to go back to stuff like that that's even been remade just so you like for academic purposes.
Pretty
So
much, yeah.
yeah. Um, but I want to go back and play the Parasite Eve games. I've never played those.
Parasite Eve 1 is fantastic. I can't speak for the sequels though, but 1 is a lot of fun and the music is just godly.
Yeah, I mean there
Oh,
there are
fun
plenty of
fact.
games.
You don't need to do anything about this going in, but in case you were curious, technically Parasite Eve the game is a sequel to the book.
Yeah, I did know that.
Like you're not really missing anything by not reading the book. It's just that you would be aware that it's a sequel. You know, all this shit's going down in New York City, and this guy's like, oh, something like this happened in Japan several years back, and you're like, oh, that's from the book. Like, that's all. Like, you're not gonna miss anything. It's just more like, just the fact that is all you need.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also excited for the fact that all of the Metal Gear franchise will be playable, basically.
Well, you know what's funny? The entire Metal Gear mainline franchise is playable on PS3. So, like, moving that onto the PS5 would be interesting. If you just put all the PS3 titles in. So, although I suppose you could do the PSP stuff, like, you know, Acid and Portable Ops and stuff like that. But, like, the mainline games, they're all playable on PS3, and even VR missions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with and with Subsistence,
I don't know
comes Metal Gear 1 and 2, so that's playable on PS3 as well.
I don't know if the Acid games do have digital versions. I don't think they do.
I don't know about that, but like, yeah, they are not playable on PS3. You might have to pick up actual copies. Portable Ops certainly has digital versions.
That does have a digital version. I do.
Yeah, I mean, I downloaded it myself.
Yeah. Portable Ops Plus, I think, still has one as well.
It may, but yeah, Acid, I don't think so. But yeah, you could play like on the PS3. You can do Metal Gear 1 and 2 via Metal Gear Solid 3. You could do Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 and VR missions and 3 and 4 and Ground Zeroes and 5 and Revengeance. Like just the whole thing.
It's
fantastic.
And Peace Walker. That's so fantastic.
Like everything. It's kind of like how the entire Yakuza series and kind of the entire like Resident Evil, like, you know, 0 through 6 is gonna be on PS4. Like when the remake of 3, if you count just the remakes, the remake of 1, 2, and 3. So you get all the numbered entries of Resident Evil on PS4. You get all the Metal Gear Solid mainline stuff on PS3. And Yakuza 0 through 7 and Judgment on PS4. It's
wild. Still very much worth playing. I mean, these games are fantastic and have informed the types of games that we've always wanted to play. I mean, there's also like the potential to have like all these different fighting games, like from like Tekken 1, like all the way up. I mean,
Battle Monsters.
Battle Monsters.
That's a must.
Was that on
with
PlayStation?
With surprisingly good butt rock music.
Oh, was that on PlayStation?
Yeah, sure it was. PS1.
Oh, that's the Son Goku one. Yeah. Okay. Far East of Eden one. Or
Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry. Battle Monsters was on Saturn. Excuse me. Magic Beast Warriors was PS1.
Yeah, that's the one. I was
confusing the two. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Magic Beast Warriors.
Yeah, Battle
is
Monsters
the journey
is
to
Saturn,
the East,
and that's where it will stay forever.
Journey to the West game, right?
Yes. Sorry, Magic Beast Warriors with its surprisingly good butt rock music.
There's a lot of really great fighting games though. I mean, like, remember when they re-released like was it Marvel Superheroes for PS3 and like arcade perfect versions of that, like Marvel vs. Capcom 1. I doubt you'll be able to rebuy that, but I sure as hell would want to play it.
That was a solid game. That's where like the "Let's go crazy" comes from.
It comes from Marvel vs. Capcom 1, right?
Yeah. When you put in a coin.
That was such a cool game. I think that game gets really overlooked because 2 is a great game, and you know is probably like the more full-featured game. But
1 had Onslaught, dude. That shit was real.
Well, also like the sprite work and like the backgrounds were all hand drawn.
Commando looked freaking cool.
That was a cool ass game. Like I played that so much.
And when you lose to the final boss, the dream is over. It's like, oh shit.
Beating Onslaught was really difficult. I also had problems beating Abyss in the second one too.
And then in 3 it was like Apocalypse, and they all had bullshit like clear the screen attacks. It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Because they're arcade bosses.
Arcade bosses are bullshit.
I still say the worst thing I've ever fought was Young Geese in Art of Fighting 2. Although Perry, this isn't an arcade game, but Perry showed me that Power Rangers, the movie fighting game, Ivan Ooze is legendarily unfair. Like,
Such an
that
asshole.
shit is bananas.
What an asshole.
Like, he's like tougher than some arcade final bosses. He's insane.
Nice. All right. Well, I think we went over some good ones. Do you want to get some last minute like titles? And I can think of one series that I'm looking forward to playing again.
Anything with conspicuous loading times, really.
Tomba 1 and 2. I can't wait to play.
Oh.
I love.
How about
that series.
Tobal 1 and 2? Tobal
I would love to play with those too. Hell, if they'll make them digitally available, go
The
for it,
only
man.
reason anybody's ever heard of Tobal number 1 is because it came with a demo disc for Final Fantasy VII.
That was a good
but what
game,
people
though.
did not appreciate at the time, yeah, it's a legit good game. The soundtrack is great, but also that game ran at a steady 60 frames per second on the PS1.
Yeah.
That is
Rock
like
solid.
I don't know if you've ever seen this game or if you kind of have memories of it. Go back.
It was
That
also a
game
high
is
resolution
smooth.
PS1 game. Like, it had a
Yeah,
higher resolution
that
than most
game
games.
is smooth. Like, just watch it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, well, we should move on to our fan stuff.
Of course. We have 2 people who left comments. Living Corpse left a few. So Living Corpse said, "Oh, the third game for Pokemon Sword and Shield to be Pokemon Bikini Armor." Obviously, that's the true RPG. And then another one. This comment is region locked to China. You need a Chinese consulate account to read this comment. That was in regard to that 10-cent thing with the China system.
I hate that stuff. Ugh.
Yeah. And the third one was when AM2R, so another Metroid 2 remake, you know, that fan remake, came out. I was looking forward to seeing awesome games done quick to do it. But then Nintendo threatened to pull support away from AGDQ if fan games like that or Pokemon Uranium were done. Fuck you, Nintendo. On one hand, like, I get it because it's using Nintendo's assets. Sure. But on the other, yeah, fuck you, Nintendo. Like, if they hadn't released Metroid 2, like, 10 minutes later, I wonder if it would have had the same effect. And then Dracologist said, portable PC gaming, oh, this is regarding future tech. Portable PC gaming is cute, but I'd be more delighted to see more akin to the Big O. Oh, fuck. That'd be awesome. Like, you know, Big O the anime?
Sure. I love Big O.
I don't really watch that much mech anime. I've seen G Gundam. That's the only Gundam I've seen, is like the goofy parody one. And Big O, and that... Well, I've seen a little more than that. I've seen Mazen Kaiser Skull. I saw, Shin Mazinger Z, I believe it was. The Big O is so good. It was so good that when Japan stopped caring about it, it was America that got them to make a season 2.
Wow.
Like, there was that much pull in America at the time. It's kind of like... It's not quite the same thing, but Yakuza 6, I think, sold better in America than in Japan. Oh, that reminds me. One thing I forgot to mention in Reactive Consciousness is I think Yakuza 7 is out in Japan now.
Oh, great.
Like, I look forward to its release because you know what's happening.
Yeah, I heard some talk that they were... it was selling well, so they were going to give a bunch of DLC for free.
Yeah, I forgot how it worked. I believe Yakuza 6 and... I forgot about Judgment, but Yakuza 6 for sure had, like, DLC codes that you could, like, look up. So technically it was free. And then there was also paid DLC. So, like, there was some free DLC for that for sure. Judgment, I think it might have just been paid. But, like, the DLC doesn't ultimately matter. It's just, like, for fun.
It's still cool.
Yeah. So, the question, then, comes from Living Corpse. What's something you didn't know you wanted till you saw it? For me, one example is in King of the Monsters, seeing Godzilla march alongside the U.S. Navy and U.S. Air Force on the way to fight King Ghidorah. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. Another is Wolverine versus Freddy Krueger in the epic rap battle of history, the YouTube channel.
That's pretty cool.
And on the Death Battle channel, Carnage versus Lucy. Lucy being the character
Charlie
from
Brown?
Elfin... Yes. From Elfin Lied. Yeah, Lucy held up the football to Carnage, and Carnage missed a kick, and Lucy won the death battle. But yeah, Carnage versus Elfin Lied's Lucy, which was... That fight on both sides was just painful and sadistic, because that's both characters. In my case, I might go for. I mean, obviously it's evolved over time, but the original Super Smash Brothers. Even when I
Yeah.
first heard about it, I was like, "That's kind of weird." And then I played it. I was like, "Okay." And then it only got better from there on.
Mine was like our introduction to the MCU entirely.
That's
So,
true, yeah. Because
um,
like this is remember a lot of people don't remember this. This is coming off an era where superhero movies were okay at best. Like Daredevil, I like Daredevil, but like people didn't really care for it. X-Men 1 was interesting and dark and edgy. X-Men 2 kicked ass.
it
X-Men
was
3
great.
fucking sucked.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 1 was pretty interesting. 2 fucking kicked ass. 3 like superhero
Exactly.
movies were hit and miss and they were all in their own universes. So Iron Man came out. Oh, that did really well. Hulk came out. Oh, okay. And then it concludes with Tony Stark or with no, it was Tony Stark actually. Like you want to join me for
Bookends it.
something big. It's gonna get good. And then Captain America ends with basically just a trailer for the Avengers, and people were like, "Whoa, they're doing this for real!" And it only kept evolving and getting better from there.
Well, not only that, but like the first movie when it was announced, which was Iron Man, like Iron Man, and people forget this because he's a beloved character now, but Iron Man was a freaking joke.
That's the thing, yeah. Like Iron Man, no. Robert Downey Jr. is beloved. Like, oh, he plays Iron Man, fine. Like, cause like, yeah, like I was like that. That's a bold move to open with Iron Man and then the Hulk. Especially like nobody really cares about the Hulk either, and this is after the Ang Lee Hulk movie, which no one liked. So
So
like you're starting with these heroes, really?
the MCU, it, its greatest achievement is making stars out of nobody. Like in terms of characters, you have to think that um, the three main series, the like the big draws of Marvel are Spider-Man, X-Men, and Fantastic Four, and they had none of them.
Not only that, but
Right?
Fantastic Four has consistently had poor movies.
Poor movies, yeah. But so what they've done is Iron Man was a joke when they made a movie about him, and like I remember thinking to myself, what is this? Like, I don't
Yeah,
want this. And then
yeah,
they were like, Robert Downey Jr. is gonna play him. I was like, okay, I'm sold.
yeah.
I was like, perfect,
And
perfect
the
casting.
opening scene in the movie where he's saying like the greatest weapon needs to be fired 0 times or 1 time, but like that just nailed his personality just immediately.
Also,
This is the character.
Also, the direction, Jon Favreau is fantastic. He's done fantastic directing. He just made the Mandalorian TV show, which is fantastic.
That's
He's
right.
he's
Yeah,
great. And then they've successfully made like Doctor Strange cool, and Guardians of the Galaxy were fucking losers,
well, that's the whole
terrible.
thing though. Like after,
And
because
they're
like because people were kind of like Iron Man, Thor, but like I guess they gave him a chance, and
yeah.
then Avengers came out, and now they're like, all right, I'm gonna watch any Marvel thing you throw at me. So they were like, oh really? So then they felt more confident about throwing out Guardians of the Galaxy, and like even Black Panther, they like teased him in Civil War because like who the fuck's
Yeah.
like was he from the '60s or something? And he's like the coolest guy in Avengers Civil War. They're like, oh, he's gonna get his own movie now. I'll watch that happily. So like they're really good about establishing and introducing new characters. And like Doctor Strange,
But
like they've done weirder shit. Let's do Doctor Strange now. Sure, why not? And he was
also,
a
like,
compelling character too.
revitalizing them. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is like one of the best parts of the MCU, and
Yeah,
like they were losers.
yeah,
Like I am a big comic book fan from way back in the day. I've been reading comic books ever since I was born, and in the '80s, and nobody who was a comic book fan read followed the Guardians of the Galaxy. They constantly had canceled series. Like
yeah.
their characters were scattered to the winds all the time. Like they were not popular at all. They revitalized them. They brought them back. They made them like the best part of the MCU right currently, if you ask me. They let me see. There's so many different parts. I mean, geez, like Thor, also Captain America's cool. Like who would have thought?
Yeah,
Like when I was growing
everybody
up,
knows Captain America, but he was always like, I'll stop the bad guys
he's a
with
weenie.
my strong punch.
Yeah, he's like, people use
he's like Superman's attitude, like, stop right there, citizen. I'll put an end to this crime. Like, okay.
Like he was like who you made fun of, like people who were being overly patriotic, like oh look at you, Captain America, like like
he wears the stars and stripes.
Stars and stripes. Like this is our reference for Captain America, and they made him cool. He has probably consistently the best movies in the MCU. They're great.
To put things into perspective, when I first started watching the Marvel movies, I watched Iron Man because I guess I'll check it out. I watched Hulk because I'll guess I'd check it out. I wasn't interested enough to bother with Thor or Captain America, but then Avengers was coming out. I'm like, shit, I better watch their movies. And Captain America 1. I need to put an asterisk on this one. Remembering that I dropped off of the MCU, like, around when Avengers 2 came out. Like, the most recent movies I've seen are Guardians 2 and Thor 2. Guardians 1 and Thor 2, excuse me. I've only seen little clips of Guardians 2. But, like, Captain America 1, I still say is my favorite MCU movie, and that includes Winter Soldier. I have seen Winter Soldier. I really like Captain America 1. It just embraces the cheese of, like, old-timey patriotism.
All three Captain America movies are great, if you ask me. I love Civil War. Civil War's 3. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Civil War's 3. All three are really good. In fact, I think they a lot of people say like Winter Soldier might be the best movie in all of them.
Yeah, a lot of people say Winter Soldier's like stomps everything else. Maybe it's because I only saw it the one time, but I just really like the first one.
Endgame's really, really good. I mean,
from what I hear, that's like kind of just like a no contest, but I haven't seen Endgame.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't too many truly. There aren't any truly bad ones. I'll just go ahead and say that. Probably
the worst I'll probably say is
Thor 2.
Thor 2.
Yeah.
I wasn't really big on Iron Man 2. The villain shows up early.
Avengers 2's not all that hot either, to be honest.
That's what I heard. Yeah, but like the villain in Iron Man 2 like just sits out of like the first like 2/3 of the movie.
Yeah, the Iron Man sequels aren't the best, unfortunately. They have good moments.
Iron Man 2 was okay. Thor 2 I really wasn't into.
Thor 3 is amazing. I love Thor 3.
People said they love that one. Haven't seen it.
Yeah. Thor 3 is the best out of the Thor movies.
Thor 3 is fucking Taika Waititi, so you know it's going to be good.
Yeah, no, that movie's great. I like both the Guardians movies are fantastic. I love them.
Again, yeah, what little I saw of Guardians 2 looked like, par for the course for Guardians.
The Ant-Man movies are pretty decent too.
Which ones?
The Ant-Man movies, both of them.
Haven't seen, but I heard Ant-Man and the Wasp was kind of like, eh.
Well, actually, the Ant-Man and the Wasp is kind of mandatory viewing to understanding Endgame.
Well, whatever, but I heard that was kind of like whatever. But Ant-Man 1, like, I kind of want to see that solely because Paul Rudd is playing Ant-Man, and just like...
It's pretty good.
Paul Rudd has this kind of like subtle humorous quality to him, like at all times. So
yeah.
I hope I'm
he's just funny by looking at the camera. He's like Zach Galifianakis.
He's like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like he's the guy who always interviews on Conan, and he's like, I got a clip of this new movie I'm in, and it's always fucking
Meatballs
Mac and Me
or Mac and Me,
where that kid in the wheelchair just falls off a fucking cliff, and you're like, what is this? Now everybody knows it's Mac and Me, but at the time, the first time, it was like, what the hell is that movie?
I think he's done it something like 20 times at this point.
He's done it a lot.
Yeah. He's like, really... I have a clip of Ant-Man 2. And then he plays that.
And like, it's coming, but he always swears up and down, no, the joke's dead, and the joke's not dead, but you're like, maybe he hits you with it again.
All right. Well, any last remarks here, Lotus?
Another one. Something you didn't know you wanted till you saw it. Man.
Duck wings.
Oh, that's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, probably something that makes something that I'm used to more convenient that I didn't know it existed until, it finally came out or something. I don't know. That's very broad, but something that, like, some innovation.
Soap.
Whoa, you mean there's another way?
I've been using lie this whole time, and boy, am I burned. This is terrible.
I've just been going in the river and hoping for the best. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, let's go with that. Why not?
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Because like, what am I gonna mention? Another crossover franchise? I don't know. But like, there's gonna be something that I'm gonna think of like moments after we stop recording. I don't fucking. Oh yeah, you know what? Fist of the North Star, Lost Paradise.
There you go.
Like, the Fist of the North Star games have always kind of been like.
They've
spotty.
gotten progressively better over time.
They have, but they're
the
not,
NES games are garbage.
Yeah, like they're not great. Like the fighting game on PS2 is great, but it's a fighting game. You're not gonna play a whole.
I like the Master System game. That one's pretty good.
It's all right. It's all right. It's not bad. The one that never came out here under that name. There's the what was the PS1 game? Was
Genesis game,
comprehensive for the story. That's Japanese only though.
There's Punch Mania. Do you ever play Punch Mania?
I have not, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
The Warriors games aren't bad, but like a Yakuza style Hokuto game, like whoa, okay, or like Berserk in the PS2, like a Berserk Warriors game before the PS4 actual Berserk Warriors game. That was a good time as well.
Nice.
Yeah, let's go with that. Why not?
All right. Well, I think that is all we have time here for. So that was a good one. I do have to say for our fans out there, Living Corpse just gave us our final question. So,
yeah, we have one more question after the one we just answered.
Okay, so we have one more in the pot,
yeah, one more.
In the kitty, as it were. We do need more, so please give us multiple if possible. So we want to thank, that is the show for this week. We want to thank all of our fans who contributed questions. Please keep us supplied with awesome topics by submitting questions of your own via the YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs up, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. It helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Tuesdays on our sister podcast, Reactive Consciousness, the podcast, the in-depth look at this week in our lives. And it's a good place for me and Lotus to hang out every week. Finally,
that's true, in cyberspace.
Yeah, let's cyber.
ASL.
I see what you did there.
I put on my robe and wizard hat.
You know what was really funny? Like this was kind of like oh, I see what I see what you did there kind of moment this week.
Mm-hmm.
Is I went to a bar in Philadelphia, and they had a drink called the Mr. Mixolydic.
The Superman villain?
Yeah, and I said to the waitress, if I order this backwards, do I get a secret...
Do you just, like, remove it from the menu?
Do I get a secret drink or something? And she said, go up to the bartender. He will definitely do something special for you.
Yeah.
And he did.
Nice.
It was pretty awesome.
Did he just leave? Did he disappear?
No, he was just like, I see what you did there. It's coming right up.
What happens in the comics? He's banished for like a year?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But
okay.
Yeah, whatever.
I love the one clip where Superman was trying, like, intentionally mispronouncing his name. He's like, "Isn't your name Mr.?"
He was no, Gilbert idiot. Gottfried was.
It was Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, yeah,
and eventually Mr. Mixler, whatever the fuck his name is, just was like, "No, idiot, it's this," and he says his own name and banishes himself. Fuck. It's great.
Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much everything.
Okay, and you can follow me in my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you're interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting involved in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
All right, everybody. We will catch everybody on Tuesday. See you then.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.